So, it is time to talk about LOR 6. Yeah, after a year actually, it's been a year since the show actually existed. We finally have episode 6, which I thought was pretty cool. Thought it was cool to see it come back. I just kind of, before I go into my thoughts on episode 6, I kind of wanted to talk about like what I thought of every other episode. And like a quick little, like, just quickly explaining, and then I'll kind of get into my particular thoughts on episode 6. So, just to start, episode 1, I thought it was, considering it was the shortest episode, I feel like it did a lot, actually, and it was very entertaining, and I think it set up a lot of the cast dynamics really well. Episode 2 is still definitely my favorite. I really like Shapey, like, going and killing everyone. I thought it was a cool challenge concept, and still very entertaining. Episode 3 has probably my least favorite challenge out of, like, the first 5 episodes. But I still found it entertaining. There was still some cool stuff. Overall, pretty good. I liked the humor. Episode 4, I feel like, considering it was the longest episode, like, it's 18 minutes, I found it pretty interesting that it kind of didn't feel like it did that much with it. Like, it was a very cool concept to go to other shows, and, like, I thought all that was really interesting. But I feel like just the way it was delivered was not super interesting. Episode 5, the Anguish Challenge, was just really funny. Like, just all-around great humor. And then we get to episode 6. So I guess I should just start and say the challenge. No, okay. Let's start with some basic things. So animation in this show is always just like kind of the same. It's supposed to be like quick, simple, cool, not a problem. The voice acting though, I noticed this especially with Jay. He just doesn't sound like I know it's been a year since the last episode, but Jay just doesn't sound the same, like at all. Like he just has like a very different voice, and every character kind of has that. Like, I know it's been like a year, but I feel like probably could have had more effort to differentiate the character voices, because they used to be very, very different and very, like, entertaining to watch, but I feel like a lot of the characters just blended in terms of how they sounded, whereas they didn't used to, like, at all. Challenge. The challenge for this episode, I think I'm just going to talk about this, like, actually, I'll just talk about this all at once. The episode did not use its runtime well, is what I would say. Like, this is... Episode 5 was shorter than this episode, and so was episode 1, but, like, since episode 1, the only episodes under 10 minutes were 5 and 6, and I think comparing them, like, it kind of says a great deal about how I feel about episode 6 compared to 5, where in episode 6, the short challenge was kind of just uninteresting, in the sense that even though episode 5 had a super quick challenge, episode 6's challenge is literally, so the little montage where, like, Naughty is singing, like, I find that funny, but they basically just do that showing the tree growing, and then they all beat each other up, and Jay eats the carrots, which I think was a pretty funny bit, to have Jay eating all the carrots and being, like, really hungry. I thought that was funny. But they just kind of do the montage, they all attack each other so that there's only one carrot, which, yeah, I guess it makes one team, like, safe, but I feel like you didn't have to do that, you know? Like, it could have just been whoever does it first, or something. But, anyways, they just kind of do that, and then the challenge ends, and it's, like, it's not, I think a short challenge in shows, it kind of needs to benefit from actually being, like, an interesting short challenge. Like, I think some of, like, the examples of bad short challenges, I would say, is, like, the like, golf ball stacking one, where they literally just skipped, they were like, we brought you the interesting parts. Like, they just skipped through, because it's super boring. And I feel like you could have come up with something slightly more interesting to do with the whole baby carrot thing. Aside from that, I'd say the humor of this episode just wasn't quite there. Like, there were some funny moments, as I said, I liked the Jay thing, but there were some moments where I feel like an extended bit just didn't land. Like, I don't know, for me, I guess myself going insane over like the baby carrots thing. It was funny at first, but then it just kind of extended. I liked the recommended character massacre thing. That was funny. I actually laughed at that. But I feel like I was only really entertained by that. And then the joke that Few makes with the baby carrots was just like, I mean, it's funny that he'd actually say that, but it was just like, what? I don't know. I feel like overall, this is probably my least favorite episode. Not to say that it's bad. I think if I was to like, out of 10, this is like a 6.5. Like, I didn't dislike it, but I feel like the episode just isn't for me. Like, it's not really, like, there was some good humor, some good moments, but overall just not that interesting of an episode. And I feel like if I was going to place it in order, it would probably go last, below episode 3, which I still like episode 3 a lot. I just didn't like it that much. But I feel like this episode has some stuff that I actively don't like. I'm excited to see the show come back. I'm excited to like see where it's going. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite episode, to say the least. And now we have a bonus section. If it wasn't obvious this entire video was unscripted, I just wanted to have a little section of the video where I just kind of talk about characters. Obviously the show is not meant to be taken very seriously, but I do have to say that I feel like the management of characters has changed a bit, and I just wanted to kind of talk about that. So, like, obviously, at some point I, like, wrote, like, a version of LOR 5 that was, like, very character-focused, but that's just the way I write, and I know that's not necessarily how every show has to be. But I'm gonna say early LOR felt like it was going somewhere with characters. Like, I feel like you can use a lot of examples. Like, I know, for example, plot points, like, with, you know, Teiko and Furret's, like, little side thing where they found the door, but then were like, actually, it's boring. Like, I know that was supposed to be something, but they just got rid of it, which is fine. But I mean more so, like, Ducky, for example, who just kind of, early on, he was kind of like the whiny one who was, like, vengeful and, like, a little bit angry with everyone. But then he just kind of stopped being that. Like, I wouldn't say the characters are being managed poorly, but I'd say a lot of characters, maybe it was a symptom of the runtime and it just not being that focused on anyone in particular, but it feels like this episode, you could have easily, like, the best way I describe it is, you could have swapped any character in this episode for any other character, and, well, almost any other character, and I feel like it would have worked the same. Like, aside from one or two characters, like reoccurring jokes like Dizzy Cat just saying whatever, I feel like there was very much a lack of characters being important. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just feel like episode 5, I found that, like, little character funny moments, like, you know, like the chamber Liquorice goes in and he's like gets mega traumatized by the weird YouTube slop, and it's like, it's funny because that's something that you could actually see, you know, like Few making, or like that team or that group kind of making, or like, you know, for just kind of like going and sending him to like a funny thing and going, I don't know, lol. Like, that's very, all of that feels very in character, but I feel like no one really did anything interesting in episode 6. I feel like I am being overly negative, so I do just want to reiterate that I still found it to be an entertaining time, and it was still pretty funny, but it just doesn't feel like it, like, if you go and watch the first 3, actually just watch all the previous episodes from like a year ago, and they have a very different feel to them. And I just kind of wanted to point it out because I hope that episode 7 can kind of improve on it if I give this like kind of detailed kind of thought process. But I guess what I'd say is, I would like for the characters, and this is just for me, not necessarily everyone wants this, but I think that the characters themselves is kind of the main appeal of this little show. Like, again, I'm talking about it like it's a big thing, when it's really not. It's not supposed to be that complicated or that deep. But I feel like the whole point of the show is it's a friend show, so it's just funny to see the characters do stupid things. but the characters didn't really do much, and I feel like that just is why overall I just felt like this was a little bit different. Yes, that's my thoughts.